What's up, guys? Welcome to the Saturday show. Today we like to go back through the week, take a look at all the different pieces of news from Newswave, some of the bigger stuff, so if you missed anything, you'll get caught up here pretty easily. And we'll also go through your comments and see what you guys had to say to any of the different topics that we had. It was a big, packed week from E3. And you know, we're going to get into a very small bit of news here that actually concerns E3 before we get into some of the comments and some of the summaries. See, E3 was actually fairly successful over the course of this week. Of course, the real time where people were all over the place was like the first 3 days maybe, and then started to wind down. But according to the E3 organization, it did so well. It actually had over 69,000 people attending, and they showed over 3,000 games. It was packed. Obviously, the public always shows up in force because tickets always sell out, and now we know when it's happening next year. It's actually June 11th to the 13th of 2019. And then, of course, millions of people watched at home. The Microsoft event seemed to be the one that pulled the most traffic from all the different streams, topping over 1.7 million viewers concurrently, which is pretty impressive. That, of course, is across all platforms, including Mixer. Obviously on YouTube, it was very popular. I can actually say that was actually my most viewed concurrently stream that I had all week. So people were really interested in Microsoft, and I don't blame them. They actually showed a lot, and I think they did the best they could, and they even told us about all the studios. So yes, E3 was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun, right? It was a good time, and I'm looking forward to next year when hopefully I go so I can see, I guess, the next Xbox, maybe the next PlayStation. It sounds like Microsoft's going to be ready to show next year, so I have to make sure I'm out there with a microphone, getting interviews and behind-the-scenes look, because I think it's about time that the Spawn Wave crew went out to California to see E3. So look for that, I guess, 2019, and hopefully we can make that happen. So with that out of the way, guys, let's get into the whole summary of the week with your comments before we start. Guys, if you enjoy this video going forward, make sure you hit the like button, and make sure you subscribe if you want weekly news updates throughout the week, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, and then I like to do kind of the breaking news and the rumor wave stuff as well. So guys, let's get started. On Monday, we went over Bethesda's E3 presentation where they announced both Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6. While we expected Starfield, Elder Scrolls 6 was a nice surprise, even if it is in very, very early development. Tales of Vesperia Remastered was also announced at E3, coming to all systems. Just This Fool says, can't wait to call GameStop for a copy of Battletoads. So, if you don't know about this joke, this prank call, what would happen is people would call GameStop and ask for Battletoads, knowing full well that they don't sell Battletoads. I'm not really sure where this came from exactly or who started it, but I can tell you, myself working at GameStop, I experienced this probably 4 or 5 times. I would say, for the most part, we get probably 2 or 3 of these prank calls every month asking for Battletoads. It was a pretty consistent thing. Usually we just say no, and they'd laugh and hang up, and that was the end of the joke. However, what was really funny was when I did eventually move to another store and manage that store that actually sold retro games and we had Battletoads in stock. I did get those calls occasionally, and I would simply say, yeah, we have it in stock. It's $14.99. Would you like me to put it on hold? Usually it would end up with a lot of silence on the other end and say, oh, no, that's okay. I didn't know you guys sold retro games. And that was like the end of the call. So it was nice getting those calls at the other store I worked at. It was more annoying and time consuming at GameStop. It was just a waste of time. It was more funny at the other store when I could just say, yeah, we have it here. But you will be able to call, I guess, next year when Battletoads drops on the Xbox One. Possibly, I assume PC as well. Then we'll see, I guess, with their new initiative to get everything cross-play or cross-buy or whatever on the Play Anywhere is what they call it on the Xbox and PC. You should see it there as well. But yes, you will officially be able to call GameStop and ask if they have Battletoads. That should be next year. Tuesday, we took a look at more clues that pointed to a Fortnite release for that same day to be revealed in Nintendo's Direct later on. This turned out to be correct, as Nintendo dropped Fortnite along with a few other games available that same day. Limited Run Games also revealed a ton of physical games, including Golf Story. Alex Pollitt says, am I the only one who doesn't care about Fortnite being announced on Switch? I'd rather them spend more time on other games during the Direct instead of that. Well, Alex, I will tell you one thing. If there were more games to show, they would have just made that Direct longer. But I understand a bit about Fortnite because I'm not even like the biggest fan of the game. But I understand why they really wanted that on the Switch, because it's popular, and obviously we're going to talk about that a little later on, but yeah, 2 million downloads is pretty good in the first 24 hours. It's just the biggest game, right? Like, I'm not a big fan of it, But again, if Nintendo had more games to show, that Direct just would have been longer. I don't think they took a game out to put Fortnite in. But again, I can understand maybe your underwhelming sense of, oh, it's Fortnite. Wednesday, we went over the delay for Yoshi after it was revealed on the eShop that it was being moved to 2019. This explains why it was nowhere to be found at E3. Microsoft also appears to be quietly planning the next Xbox to possibly be shown as early as next year's E3. Raxel says, could the next Xbox system be hybrid, with the handheld part being optional? Well, Raxel, they're going to have apparently multiple systems, although I think they're going to be more tiered. One's just going to be cheaper. The other one's going to be like a more expensive, powerful, like Xbox One X, like the S compared to the X, for example. A cheaper one, and then a more expensive one for people who want it. I don't think they would go the hybrid route for the cheaper one, although I'm sure Microsoft sees how popular the Switch is, just like Sony does, where Sony keeps alluding to their handheld division, which is weird because they don't care about the Vita anymore at all. And yeah, the Vita, one of the big thing the Vita had up on the 3DS is it was more powerful, but the Vita is much weaker than the Switch, so they don't really have that anymore. The Japanese developers are moving more to the Switch because it's exploding in Japan. So Sony would have to introduce something brand new, and it would have to be probably a hybrid system for the Vita type line, but where would that leave their PlayStation 4? Because then you have technically another home console handheld. It's a weird situation. I don't think Microsoft has any plans of moving into the handheld space even a little bit. They have their Surface Pro, they have their phones, I guess. It would be weird to introduce a handheld device when they don't really have, I think, enough IPs to really push that along, although they just introduced all these new studios, but I think they're mostly all working on Xbox One games, not really handheld games. It would be cool to see, I will say that, but I don't think that's their direction. Enrique Pinero says, if Yoshi was ready, and it probably is, I don't think it would sell as well with the list of games slated for this year. Plus, we already have Kirby and Donkey Kong as platformers, which are similar platformer types. That's true. They could push Yoshi next year to help out, but based on last year, I don't think Nintendo has any issues with releasing all these games all in a row if they need to get more Switches pushed. Pokemon's going to really help them. I almost feel like Pokemon and Smash obviously are bailing them out towards the end of this year, but I do think Yoshi could have fit in say August. That might have even been too early. Keep in mind, they are working with Unreal Engine 4, and while Miyamoto says they have mastered it, I still think there is a possibility they're just having issues in development. They just requested more time. They need more time, right? Nintendo's not going to put out a junk game like this very buggy or anything. And I'm pretty sure this is their first real dive into Unreal Engine 4. I could be wrong about that. I'm almost positive their first real dive as a first-party studio level. So they want to get it right, because they're going to use that experience going forward with their other games. So no, I don't think Yoshi's ready yet, and I think that's the real issue. Although he is missing. They even took him off the German box art for Super Smash Bros., which is really funny because it makes my milk carton gag that much better. Thursday, we went over the massive response to Fortnite going to Switch. In less than 24 hours, the game was downloaded 2 million times on Nintendo systems, showing just how popular the game is. Cyberpunk 2077 has been making the rounds with press at E3, and so far it sounds amazing. Do8Do says, I don't like Fortnite, I won't buy it. A good chunk of the Nintendo fanbase, 2 million downloads within the first 24 hours. So the interesting thing about Fortnite is it's very popular, right? I guess it's strangely popular to hate on popular things, right? Online, and generally it's the vocal minority. Also, Fortnite's free, so I feel like a lot of people just these are downloads, not necessarily how much that person enjoyed it or how long they even played it. For example, I haven't played it as much on my Switch, but I did jump back over to the Xbox One version because I was playing on my monitor, and honestly, the big pull of the Switch is when it's handheld. So to me, the Switch would be my handheld way to play Fortnite, and if I'm playing on my 4K monitor, I'm going to jump over to my Xbox One X because your accounts travel between them. I'm not going to play on my PlayStation 4 ever with that because then it's linked completely and I can't play anywhere else. So I feel like looking at it, it's just interesting enough for people to download. And honestly, there are a lot of non-Nintendo fans who also have a Switch that are probably like, oh, cool, portable Fortnite. So a lot of the people you heard online is probably a very small subsection of the Nintendo fan base, because I have a feeling a lot of them did want Fortnite on the Switch because it's extremely popular. 125 million people are playing it, or something obscene. So yeah, people like Fortnite. If you hear 20 people online, talking about how they don't like it and they don't want another Nintendo system, that is seriously like 0.00001% of the overall fan base that probably wanted it. Friday, everyone was speculating as to what game Panic Button is porting to the Switch. Word came out of E3 that they were set to announce a big port next month for the little system. Their previous work includes Rocket League, Doom, and the soon-to-release Wolfenstein 2. Panic Button seems up to the challenge for porting big games to the Switch, so let's see what their next project is. Big Brother W says, if Panic Button does fall out, that would really demonstrate how they are committed to show that they are not afraid to take a challenge. Still, I want to know how the Doom sales fared on the Switch. Well, good news, ZeniMax came out and said that Doom on the Switch met their expectations well enough. So they seem happy with those sales, and I think looking at that, ZeniMax Bethesda, they're going to start saying, well, let's get more of our stuff on that system. So Bethesda, strangely, has been one of the more supportive companies, along with, I guess you could say, Capcom would be another one that's been pretty supportive, Koei Tecmo. But Bandai kind of fell behind, right? They admitted they weren't ready for it. They didn't have any confidence in it. Now they're playing catch up, but they're at least playing catch up, right? EA they don't care. But I do think Panic Button could be doing a Fallout. Fallout 4 would make people stop and go, whoa, okay. I think even more so than Doom or even Wolfenstein, because Fallout 4 has a hard time running on the Xbox One. Like, if you go on the S, there was a demonstration. I remember this is a little, what was it? It had to have been a demonstration, yeah. Because I think it was before it came out, maybe. Or just a review where it dropped to like 1 frame per second. And I looked at that and I said, wow, that's crazy. I played it mostly on PC, although it is now on Game Pass, so I might actually re-download it on the X, just see how it looks there. But when I saw that, I was like, oh man, consoles struggle with Fallout 4 and there's glitches and all this stuff. So I'll say this, if Panic Button really takes the task to try to make a portable Fallout 4, I will be very impressed. Do I think that's what they're doing? I don't know. I feel like it could be a Fallout game. It could be Fallout 3 because we just don't have a portable Fallout game like that at all. Even the GPD Win heavily struggles with Fallout games. So yeah, if they show up and they're like Fallout 4, boom, on the Switch, a lot of people are just going to go, wow, that's, I didn't think that was possible. Similar to how we did with Doom. You remember when that showed up? A lot of people were like, what? We could play Doom on this thing? Really? I feel like Fallout would get that same reaction. Maybe a Dishonored, although, I don't know. Dishonored, I don't think is as in the limelight as something like a Fallout, especially with Fallout 76 coming out. They could probably get a lot of people to buy back into Fallout 4, and it's Panic Button. I mean, we've even seen Iron Galaxy tell them, I think we get Monster Hunter World on there, right? And we haven't heard anything from them, so maybe Panic Button's doing Monster Hunter World, although I doubt it because, of course, they have a Monster Hunter game already coming out this year. I think it's going to be something in the shooter genre, something Western, something already out. Fallout makes sense. And that's going to do it for the Saturday show today, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by. It was a lot of fun. I like going back through and seeing your guys' comments. Last weekend, it was really difficult to get to it because it was very, very busy during E3, especially with everything kind of dropping all at once and getting through it and all the videos and stuff coming out, all the writing I did. But it was a lot of fun. I had a great time at E3 just covering it and everything throughout the week. I hope you guys had a lot of fun too. And we'll look forward to next year. So, guys, let me know what you think about any of the stuff we talked about today down in the comments. The Panic Button stuff is getting out of hand right now. We got about another month or so. I think they're waiting at least to get Wolfenstein 2 close for release, just so they don't get people too hyped up and forget about their other port. So they probably want to at least get that as close to release or out before they do that. So we'll see what it is. That's the most interesting thing happening right now, I think, on the Switch is this Panic Button port to see what magic they try to do again with the system. But we'll see. Panic Button seems to be the masters, guys, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Spawncast tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and I think we'll try to do a Tech Wave tomorrow with an older retro system, and that'll be a lot of fun. So I'll see you guys later on tonight.